Before we get started, the supplies you're going to need for this project are some scissors, some brown paper or white paper bags, some scotch tape, fishing line, and a glue gun and glue sticks. Okay, so I'm going to try this inexpensive project using paper bags. What size is this? I don't know if it says on here. There's a couple different sizes. I just got these at Walmart, but there's giant and then there's regular. I got the regular, and I actually wish they had a size smaller. If you can find something similar in like a treat bag size. I found these tucked away from back when our kids were little. These were more of a treat bag. They have the Disney Peter Pan on them. And I did try these with one. It wasn't all that much smaller than these regular sizes. The problem was that the design showed through on the outside, although I did like the size, because I really would like some variation in the sizes, which is why I thought I would do some in this. But this regular size, they turn out to be so large that I think this would be too large for where I want to put it. I would like, I think, to put these over my piano. I have a clock there now, but I have some floating shelves on either side that have a natural color to them. And I thought this might go nicely with them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm going to use 9. Super easy project. You could do this with kids, grandkids, super easy. Now, storing them is probably going to be an issue so they don't get crushed, which is why, you know, it's an inexpensive project to do again if you wanted to every year. So let me put this down for you. Now, I'm just going to put like a T-shaped hot glue line straight down the center. And across. And then, and the fold side is up, although I don't think that matters. I'm gonna put the next one the same way. So if I have the fold side up on the first one, I'm gonna put the fold side up on this one. Fold meaning this bottom flap here. So just a thin line straight down the center. And I'm sorry that I'm kind of turning sideways here. All of my extension cords are currently being used for Christmas decor. So I'm trying to stretch to the plug. So I'm going to do this all the way through all 9 bags, trying to stay as straight as possible. And you know, as close to the middle as possible. I don't measure or anything like that, but one thing I do try to be careful of, and it still happens, is I don't try to go all the way to the top. You want to leave a little bit of leeway or a little bit of a gap from the top, because once you press this next one down, it can squish that glue out through the top a little bit. And if you do, that might seep over and cause parts to stick together that you don't want to stick together. That's happened to me a couple times. But if it happens, I'll show you how to fix it. And then you also want to try not to get glue anywhere else than where you're purposely putting it on this tee, because again, the parts of the pieces of the paper are going to stick together in places you don't want them to. A couple more. Hopefully I have enough glue in my gun here. Okay. Last one. This is number 9. And again, these are just the normal size, not the giant. Okay. Now, you want a good pair of scissors for this next part. Before you open it up, well, one thing you could do is you could check it first. You can open it up. So I kind of insert my hand in the first and the last one, and fan it out just to make sure that that's the right amount of bags, that that's gonna work well. So I tried with 8 the first time. It felt like I was pulling a little too much, so adding a 9th one is much more comfortable to me. So now, before you actually attach one end to the other, now you get to be creative and create your snowflakes. So this can be done a ton of different ways. You can start by just kind of making a circular or a V-shape cut. Whatever you do on one side, you want to mimic on the other. So the best that you can. And just a little side note on that, you could take the pieces from your first cut and lay them over on the other side and trace them, and then cut exactly the same thing out on the other side. Not going to be perfect, but that's what they say about snowflakes, right? Not every snowflake is different. Not one is the same. The more bags you have, the harder it is to cut. Now, I have heard that some people will use like a shopping bag, the larger shopping bags that have the handles, and you can cut the handles off and do it, but they're thicker and it's going to be a lot harder to cut through. Now, I want mine to kind of feel like it has a point at the top. The first one I did was a little bit more rounded, and I'll show that. So I'm going to come just to the right of where I glued. I'm actually going to cut a good piece of this diagonal off. And I can trim it up a little bit if it didn't go through all the layers as nicely. So now I have to try to mimic that angle over here. So it looks like it came just a little bit above this rectangle over here. So I'm going to do the same thing, and then I want to aim for just on the other side of the glue line. But again, they don't have to be perfect. You could start out by just doing, you know, a V shape and a circle, or maybe you have good scissors and you can cut like a little heart shape, or a few different V shapes in different sizes. But that's what I'm going to do for this one. And I learned as I did more that you really can kind of cut a lot of the top part off to make your overall size smaller. So I played around with how angled I made them, how much down. That's about where I stopped my point there. So I really cut a lot off the top of that last one. Now I'm going to reach into this first one. There's not as much to reach into, but gently, gently start opening it up. Now I could just attach these together like with a hole in some fishing line, but I actually want mine to be attached. So you can get the idea of what this is going to look like. So by cutting that angle off, you have more of a pointed look here. So I'm going to go back here and put a line of glue down here on this one, and then bring them back together as quickly as I can and as gently as I can, and try to connect them. I would rather they be connected. Not everybody connects the first one to the last, but you kind of have to work quick. So I'm going to reach in there, press them together. Try not to burn yourself if you do. And there is my full snowflake. So I'm going to come back and show you what to do next. Okay, one thing that I did want to interject here before we do the next part is that I realized that I could cut a good bit off of my brown bags if I wanted to make the overall circumference smaller. So this is how much I actually cut down my original bags here on this last one that I did. So it's a little bit smaller, but also when they're smaller, I don't feel like I needed 9. 8 was what I used on this one, and it was perfect. It's not pulling, it's not too many, it's perfect. So what I'm seeing is If you do use 9 on some of the smaller ones, I tried this on some of my other ones. It's a little bit too much. And then when you hang it, the weight of those extra bags kind of makes all of these individual pieces, kind of like pie slices, look disproportionate. Some are real close together and some are more spread apart. So I have a quick little video to show you that as well, to show you what I mean. But 8 seems to be better if you're going to do a smaller. 9 seems to be better if you're going to do more of the full-size bag. So here's the one that I hung on my mantle, and this is what I mean. So I used 9, but this is probably the one that I cut down the most. So it has the most kind of, by gravity, it just wants to pull together here and be more spaced apart there. So 8 would have probably been better. I possibly could have even gotten away with 7. I'm not sure. I didn't try it, but I'm thinking, you know, you don't need the 9 for a smaller one, for sure. Once you have your first and your 2 ends glued together and sealed, then what I found helpful, take some tape and just pick a set of points where the bags come together. We're gonna be punching a hole to insert some fishing line, and I wanted some reinforcement on that hole so that the line didn't rip the bag. So I just took like a longer piece of tape and put a couple of pieces just folded over the side, totally over the side, like that. And that way, when I go to, my hole punch isn't very good. It doesn't punch all the way through. But when I hole punch, then I'm punching through the tape too, and there's a little bit of reinforcement around that hole now. I didn't get the hole in the very well in the center of that one, but if you can get it in the center, you've got some reinforcement. And then I took some fishing line, and it is very hard for me to even see this here, so I know you can't see it, but I'm gonna thread the end. It's really hard for me to see. The end through, and then pull it through, you know, so that you have a good bit of length, depending on how far down you're gonna be hanging this from the ceiling or the wall. And I always give myself a little bit of excess just in case. But you want to match, if I can see them, match the ends up. So I'm going to follow this to the end of one and cut off the other piece right about there. And then the first thing I do while I have them in my hand is I make sure they're both there. I just wrap real tight a piece of tape around there, and that way I have them together. I won't lose them. I'll be able to see the end better, but yet it's not like real obvious that you have this tape on there. So now I've got, you probably can't see it, but I've got this hanging thing. So if I take it out here, you can see that I can hang it up here. And I'm gonna go hang them on the wall. So I took my clock down and I hung these up by taping the end of the fishing line to the ceiling in the spot where I thought they would need to be hung by. So I had to do a lot of fooling with this until I ultimately got them all where I wanted. So I do hope that this inspired you to try another DIY home decor project for your home. Please hit the like button if you like this video, subscribe to our channel, and then you will get our notifications every Thursday when we post. And please follow us on social. My Home Matters is on Facebook, Instagram, and Pinterest. Thanks so much. We'll see you next week.